Welcome to the best podcast of all time.
Oh, I should leave that in there. I should leave that in the intro.
That's
Oh,
fine. If anyone
that'd
doesn't
be
know
so
what I was
good.
referencing, look at Jake's Instagram right now. Anyways, welcome back to the IndieFilm Insider podcast. My name is Owen Carr, DP and producer here with.
Jake Rossbell, a writer and director.
And today we're kind of going over our most recent short film, I Study People for a Living, that will be linked down in the description below if you feel like checking it out. And just kind of giving 5 lessons that we learned from the production and post-production and kind of festival rollout of this film. And giving them to you, I guess. Anyways.
Yes. Yeah, I can jump into mine just because I have some directing related ones, which will help the IndieFilm Insider gang learn their. God, this is the worst episode I think we've done.
The worst podcast of all time.
We're falling off. We did one good episode with Roz, and then now we're fucking we're the fame has gone to our heads. Um, I think a huge thing I learned with this one, which I still struggle with this, and I think a lot of indie filmmakers struggle with this, but I learned sort of when to and when not to direct because I feel like I'm always trying to. And there was actually a quote I saw by Jennifer Lawrence the other day where she said that for her, male directors tend to overdirect. And like when she works with women as directors, they kind of are more like reserved and they only really assert themselves when they need to. And I feel like that might be, I don't know if it's like a masculine thing or what's going on with that, but I do feel the need to constantly be like, hey, let's try it this way. Even if I have no actual beneficial or like crucial notes, I feel like there is a desire to say something. Because if I'm not saying something, then it's like I'm not directing. It feels like I'm just sort of standing there and I feel useless. But I think with this one and like for I study people, I think that just because like everyone was so like Zach was so like exactly like how I imagined Preston, I definitely did feel that anxiety. And even with the film we did after with Big Slick, I felt that as well. But with this one, I think just because there were so many scenes in the beginning, I was sort of able to, I kind of like tapered it or like toned it down as the filming progressed because it took 7 days. So six God.
Shut the fuck up. Fuck you. This podcast is over. It's done.
Yeah.
No more
Thank you guys for
recording.
watching. You can always catch it if you like the content, like and subscribe.
Nope, no outro. Fuck
Um,
it. Cut it right there.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, just having all those days of filming, I think I learned as I was going along, just sort of how to tone myself back. And I was like, you know what? If I give them notes that are like useless, it might throw Zach off because I'm like, hey, that was good, just that one little tweak. You know what I mean? Like, it's sometimes it is beneficial to do that. Like if there is something that you really think is crucial to the story, but most of the time I felt like was like, yeah, I'm kind of giving him a bunch of like nonsense. What do you call that? Like
Just
tips.
like busy work direction, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like that. So that would be my first thing. Like just something I feel like I need to improve on as well, but something I think I also identified with this film.
Yeah, when you're talking about like over direction and under direction, what does like does under like okay, I guess you kind of explained it where over direction is kind of like giving notes for the sake of giving
Mhm.
notes, and just
Right.
you feel like you have 10 minutes left to get this shot, so why not just burn those 10 minutes getting another take with a kind of acting change that might not actually be materially relevant, right?
Right. Yeah. Just sort of like um not it's just like yeah, it's just like pointless sort of fucking work.
Yeah, that makes sense. For my first one, it's a kind of a production style tip. It's when making a longer term film. So obviously this doesn't really apply when it's like 1 or 2 days. I mean, it might. But depending on your network, you might have people who are willing to help you out or work for free for you, hopefully for free or for a discounted rate or whatever, who are kind of, I don't want to say far superior than the other people you have working on the set, but like that is just kind of how film hierarchy works, right? Some people are just more experienced, some people are more skilled in their certain field than others. So, for example, we had a gaffer who is a working gaffer, he's an industry professional, and he volunteered his time for like 1 or 2 days to help us out. And so what kind of we had to do is we had to figure out what days his expertise would be best utilized. And so I don't have no idea if you if you watch the film, if you notice or not, but like the two kind of sections, it's kind of funny because he was with us for 2 days, and the two sections that he helped work on probably made up like 4 minutes of the final film, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, at least when I watch it back, I definitely notice a different level of production quality. But that's fine. But the lesson is you having to allocate your resources over like throughout the film, which makes sense. But just like knowing which days to kind of spend those extra resources on is definitely a skill that I learned a lot of, because for the kind of the first minute or two, it was literally three people on set, Jake, I, and the talent. And I don't know if you can tell, you might be able to. I think a lot of it is also just like timing natural light, which actually is another lesson that I'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, just kind of learning when to allocate the people who are more knowledgeable, which scenes or which days are the most important to have them on set, is a good thing to know.
Do you feel like you utilized like our skilled crewmates on the wrong days, or do you feel like it was the right thing to do for the shoots that we had?
I feel like it was correct. I don't know. So for the biggest issue with this is like we didn't necessarily have a like I the other day that I would have wanted the gaffer was probably the office day, but I didn't actually think about that because I was just like,
Oh yeah.
because I kind of think that that is the most, I'm not gonna say worst looking part of the film, but like the film that we could have like cooked with, like that we could have made that look so much better than it actually did, but we just didn't know. And I didn't really like think, because like there's only so much you can do with the constraints that we had with outside, because when I was setting up 8 buys, we're not fucking doing all the, we were pretty guerrilla with it, so we kind of had like
Mhm.
one C stand, one 4 by, whatever. um but like the office stuff, even though it only takes like 30 seconds of the film, we could have made it look really fucking good if we had somebody like that. But like overall, I think the night scene was a really good use of it, and so was the cafe scene.
Yeah, and I think that those scenes looking so good, because those are very crucial parts of the story. So it kind of is like when we call our gaffer in, it's like it's only for when the story like gets to those like crucial moments. So it kind of has like this elevated level of like importance, I guess. Because when you're watching it, you might subconsciously be like, I don't know if most people would even notice that. Like I don't like even me when I watch through it, like I can definitely see what you mean, like when I'm thinking about it, but like where the differences in production quality are. But I think that subconsciously it does have this effect of like, okay, this is like, this is a good film, and then oh wait, there's like something is going to go down here. This is an important thing that's going on, because it just has like that level of like, I don't know, I feel like it, yeah, it's almost like an accidental creative choice. Just kidding, it was intentional. But it does, it is. But yeah, it kind of does have like this sort of creative choice feel to it. So I don't know if someone did notice that, I think they might be like, oh, well, maybe they. I don't know. It's kind of an odd creative choice to make though, because like, why not make the whole film just like look really good? But I don't know.
Yeah,
um,
and also kind of an adjacent thing to that. It's like we did a lot of this outside, and for the most part, we kind of just shot it outside when the schedule made sense, which is like something you have to do, right?
mhm.
Um, I really wish that we would have timed it a little bit better in terms of when we were actually shooting outside, because we were shooting during the summer, and during the summer we have like a lot of not a ton, but like a reasonable amount of time where the sun is like 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. The sun will kind of always be behind you if you position it properly. So I kind of wish that we did, because I don't want to say take another day, because like that would have required it to be another day, but like I wish I would have thought about it with a little bit more of a DP brain as opposed to a producer brain, with a little bit more of like, okay, how can we kind of min max this to get it to look as good as possible, as opposed to just get everything done efficiently. Which is also, again, is another aspect of like, yeah, I'm taking on two very different roles within this film, and it's kind
Mhm.
of it kind of punished us for that.
I was gonna ask I was gonna ask you if you learned anything about about that kind of the dichotomy of being both a DP and a producer. Like, do you feel like that kind of that film in particular, just because it was so long and so complicated, sort of made you be like, maybe I should try to focus on one or the other, but not both at the same time?
Yeah, I think so. Especially for these longer term projects.
Mhm.
Because I already have so much to think about as a DP. I don't really need to stack all this logistical bullshit on top of that. I think that is definitely something where you could probably get the first AD and the producer to be a similar, like the same person, if you really wanted to. But I don't think that it should be two kind of opposing roles like that, especially when like the producer slash first AD is supposed to keep the DP in line, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that. I think the sort of the next thing I learned with this film was definitely because I wrote it too, and I don't remember how long the final draft ended up being. I want to say it was probably like 19 or so pages. I think it was just below 20, and I feel like this film, it was like six it was like 6 or 7 pages. Who is the 6'7" stalker who studies bald men? Or I think I said muscular men. Sorry, Ensema and Graham, that was an unintentional insult. um yeah, I think I learned a lot about writing, and pacing as well. One thing that was huge with this film was when we were envisioning the script being you know like this envisioning the films in our head before we started shooting. We kind of thought that this big confrontation scene towards the end would sort of be at the end, but in reality, in the actual edit, it kind of just happens in the middle. And I there's probably a few reasons for that. I think one of the reasons is just Angelina's Callie. Angelina, who plays Callie in the film, her monologue is just so it's very long and it has multiple parts to it, and I don't think I don't think we realized how many minutes that would take to actually like go through. And she did it like wonderfully, of course, but I do think that like we had to, the reason why we cut a lot of it out, because most of it didn't actually get to the final film, was just because it really like fucking ate up the entire like second half of the movie. So I think just writing wise, I learned a lot about sort of definitely, if I'm writing it, I should probably read out the lines as well, just so I can time how long things take, and just have a, maybe not time it like, super just like, like try to be all like logistical with the script, because that might kill my creativity, but just have an idea and an idea of a sense of scale. I think that would have been beneficial, but I definitely realized for this film, I was like, okay, I need to like take a look at my scripts a little bit better, because I didn't intend for that to be the case, and that ending probably could have been much better if I had, envisioned, or if I had a better sense of how long things would actually take.
Yeah, and I also feel like that is something that kind of comes from experience,
Mm,
where if you've done more of these kind of longer films, or even just like films in general, you kind of know approximately the point where the film gets to certain story beats. Because I know this is also like, we can talk about this later, like possibly something that we need to work around in Big Slick,
yeah,
for the post production, that we can talk about at a different, or in a different podcast. So subscribe for that one.
true.
Always be plugging. Yeah, I feel like that's something that comes from experience, and you can't really like, if we not that it's not a valuable lesson, but if we tell people like, hey, know where your shit goes from the page to the screen, that doesn't really like track with anyone. I feel like that's one of those lessons that, regardless of how many times you get warned against it, you have to actually experience it to learn it properly. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. This is kind of our first major. I wouldn't, obviously we've done films before this, but this is definitely our most complicated production so far in terms of just scale. I would say like Big Slick was. I don't know if it was more challenging, but it definitely like that one was, that kind of felt like it was a similar scale, even though it was only one day, just because of how much people we had involved, or how many people we had involved, and all of that as well. If you want to learn more about Big Slick, take a look at the episode we just did with Mr. Roz Fritz. But that, like, yeah, I can't necessarily be too harsh on myself for like some of just right like pacing stuff, just because you know, the film we did previously that was kind of a bit overly long was I think I'll See You Again, and that one I think it like I also just didn't really have a sense of scale, because like it's just I'm writing out actions and I don't know how long like each action's gonna take in reality, because like that's a decision you kind of make on the day, or closer to the day. So you know, a lot of stuff like that. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I think I
also we kind of thought a lot of the like confrontation stuff was going to be montage, which it did end up being, but like
yeah.
this is also something that we did a lot during editing. It's we cut that down significantly. Like I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before too, but like the original cut was like what 18, 19 minutes,
Yeah.
8, 9, 8, 9.
God.
And we kind of ended up cutting it down to 15 or 14 or something like that. And that also kind of leads into my second lesson that I learned from it is you should get extensive coverage for longer dialogue scenes. We had a timing issue, which was the main reason that we couldn't do this, but we kind of got saved by being able to cut away to the montage stuff in this. If it was
Mhm.
just a if you have like a 3 minute, 4 minute conversation in your 14-minute short film, you better get more than just shot reverse shot. Like I think we definitely should have done some more stuff with the gimbal. I think we definitely should have done more stuff with lenses. I think we definitely should have done more stuff with angles. By we I mean I, because this is all on me. And we, like I said, we were able to kind of cut around it, but like less so for viewer engagement. Actually, okay, I lied. Totally for viewer engagement. But also so that you do have the maximum amount of flexibility in post to cut around.
Yeah, if you do one long take of like a thing, then you kind of only have that take, um or you only have those options. So yeah, I agree with that. I do think that also like it seems so obvious in hindsight, like if you're doing a scene that you intend on cutting around like very flashy and all quick and stuff, that you would want to get as much footage as possible, especially for the montage stuff. I think we really only got like in the entirety of like the office scene, we probably only had like a total of like 4 unique like angles, maybe 5 or 6 or something, or 7. God. People are tuning out in droves when they're listening to this. It's going to go from like we're probably at we're at like 2% of viewers get to this point. But yeah, exactly. But yeah, I do agree with that. I think like a lot of stuff is more obvious in hindsight, but I'm also glad we did this film before we did a feature, because I feel like this was it is pretty similar, just like the maybe not, obviously the scale is way different, but the sort of the production I think is similar, just because it's over multiple days, it's multiple different locations, and we're bringing in different people and trying to schedule all that. So there's like similarities in that sense, very obviously much on a lower scale, but I think it gives us a good idea of what a feature will be like when we do that. Coming soon, subscribe to learn more. But yeah, I don't. I think I'm very thankful that we did this film at this point, because and also even with Slick, like doing Big Slick after, I feel like Big Slick would have been worse if we hadn't done this film first. Um, and yeah, I'm very glad we did it, even though there's some issues I have.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that
Another
was actually one of the biggest things that I actually implemented into Big Slick. It's because if you when it comes out eventually, coming soon, I don't know. I do switch angles quite a lot, and I also do make sure to get extensive coverage on like for multiple different angles and multiple different lenses on the same like actions or lines.
Yeah, and honestly, like another thing too is, yeah, just all those angles, you can kind of make the film whatever you want. I think that I could probably stretch the movie. I think it's like 7 minutes right now, maybe less. I could definitely stretch it to be longer. Like I could make it like probably like a 10 minute, 11 minute film if I like really stretched the maximum amount of length out of every single shot. Or I could make it shorter too, because that gives you it can go both ways with that. So that's kind of interesting. I think a thing with Slick that I implemented, that I learned from I study people for a living, was rehearsals. I and I actually wish I did more rehearsals for Big Slick, but I think we were at a good spot, because we did like 5 or 4. Like we were good. But I think for I study people, we probably did like 1 or 2. I think that was kind of it. And it was only for just because the movie was so much it was so much voiceover, and it was a lot of like there wasn't really a lot of dialogue. Like there's the character that Blake plays, Dean, Dean Ryder, um, who is a recycled name from an older short film we did. Fun fact. But I'm not gonna like have Blake call in to for like a Zoom meeting to like go over like that part of the script because it's like so brief, and then the rest of Blake's role is like just him walking around. So there was just, like it was kind of weird to do rehearsals for this movie, but even then, I really do wish I also another benefit of rehearsals is that it gives me that sense of scale I was talking about earlier. If I have Angelina do that same monologue over and over and over again, it might click for me eventually like, wait a second, this takes her like 5 minutes to get through. Is this really worth taking up 5 minutes of screen time? Like 5 minutes of screen time, that's like a whole short film. So her monologue is in itself a short film, and I had to make sure that that actually justifies why it's there. And I could have also read it myself, like read it out loud, but her intonate like the way she's doing it is the way she's probably going to do it when we actually film. So there's a lot of stuff that you get from rehearsals. Not everyone can do them all the time. They're kind of hard to set up. But if you have the ability to do rehearsals, I highly recommend it because I think that's what made the Big Slick go as smoothly as it did, even though it was like a 11, 12ish hour day. I think that it would have been a lot harder if we hadn't done like so many rehearsals beforehand.
Yeah, so the thing with these rehearsals is Big Slick was three people talking in a room for 7-ish minutes. This was 18, let's just say ish minutes, but there's only one real like scene with dialogue that lasts for more than a few. I guess this is something that just comes with a sense of scale, but if you were to make a feature today, what would you kind of focus on in terms of rehearsals and implementation of that?
Yeah, like how do you rehearse for a feature? Because like there's so many scenes. I mean, I would probably just go scene by scene. I'd probably try to at least select what I think is the most crucial scenes. I don't think we would do an entire read through of the entire thing. If there is like if it does warrant it, like if there is a reason like we can I don't know have the stars align and we're able to like kind of meet up and just meet up at like a fucking like conference room and kind of do it like that could be kind of fun because that would give me that would really benefit like, as a writer would benefit me because I would be able to like actually go through and be like okay this I can like kind of just take notes while everyone is acting out the dialogue, so that's not off the table. That might be a bit over that's long because it's like 70 80 pages of just stuff, but I would definitely want to focus on I think honestly mainly because I don't know how like beneficial it'd be to focus on performance if I'm doing a bunch of different scenes. Like it would be obviously it's important, but it's a lot for the actor to remember. Like, okay, in this scene I have to act this way, and this scene I have to act this way, and a lot of that can come kind of comes naturally to them. We talked with Roz a little bit about that, and he said he sort of just tries to see himself in the character while he's reading, and to use the environment and like what the character is living through to judge the way he's going to deliver certain lines because there was so many times on Big Slick where Roz just kind of nailed the lines even though we hadn't really gone over those particular lines in rehearsal. He just had he understood the reality of the situation, like what these characters are going through, and I think that really helped him just kind of get to like where I was thinking in my head with these characters. So I would say for a feature, it would be it's weird because like there's so many questions I have about like making a feature, but I would definitely want to do more rehearsals. Probably just yeah, like I said, if there's 30 scenes in the feature, choose like the 20 most crucial if there is 20. If there's more than that, then choose like whatever I think is like beneficial. But yeah, there's a couple scenes in the feature that we've been talking about kind of doing as our first where I'm like I definitely want to rehearse these because I want to see one what the actors kind of naturally think and like what they focus on in the scene, and like where I can improve or where I can improve, because obviously I don't want to like fuck myself on my first feature.
Yeah, or maybe also the most scenes that benefit from like counterplay and interplay between the actors.
Yeah.
Because if it's something that the actors can kind of reasonably practice by themselves, then it might not be worth necessarily the time to kind of bring everyone together, whether it's in a room or in person. But if there's something where the actors are like really, really playing off each other, that might be something that's more worth spending the time on.
Yeah, like there's a couple fight scenes that I can think of. Not fight scenes, but argument scenes I can think of in the future where I'm like, I definitely want to make sure that these actors are like, practicing those parts. Yeah, I'm excited though. Like I do think that a feature is not I think if anything, I study people taught me that you know what, it might be time to start getting into pre-production for a feature film. Like not like past the script writing phase, like kind of actually like really get into, casting and just trying to assemble all the logistical stuff with it. We should reach out to Matthew Robinson to help us.
Finally, yeah, I don't know, because like, I think with in terms of making a feature, there it seems more and more achievable the more we make these kind of longer term projects. Like
Mhm.
we know someone, Kyle Miller. He's in the process of making a feature right now where it's kind of just like a long term short film. And I've watched a bunch of like YouTube content about this too. How like Nolan's first film, Following, was just shot over like 6 months on the weekends. I think my biggest like hurdle to jump over is not eating up the goodwill of everyone that we know with making a feature.
Right.
But if we find people who are down for it and who want to try, especially actors, right? Actors might be just down to get a feature under their belt, or we might be fucked and they might mean to be like, hey, give me 20 grand for this. I'm like, oh fuck, well I don't have that. What? Whoops. So like obviously money is the hurdle, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, you can't just pay your way out of any problem that you get into, but you really have to kind of work within your limitations if you don't have money.
Yeah, and I think that like a thing for me, like I do kind of want to start making like more content about filmmaking and try to like grow my following, like this podcast following and stuff. Like I just uploaded a clip actually with Roz. It was kind of a whatever clip, but I do like want to get back into making just like because I think I stopped clipping our episodes around the one where I think the one that you weren't in with me and Carson and Sagan. I think I just kind of like stopped making clips after that point, and we haven't really had too many episodes since then. Like this is probably like our fourth episode since that episode. Like we kind of slowed down, and which is not a bad thing, but I think I do want to like kind of get more into building like OJ, building like myself and stuff like that, just so that we can turn to our audience if we need like, hey, if you want to support the film, but also just like I feel like that's I don't know, just building hype for it, because I feel like if I do a feature film, I do want to like build hype, and I could say like, oh, I don't care if anyone watches it, it's for me, but like I do want people to resonate with it, and I do want people to be excited for it. It is obviously, I'm not trying to say like I give me attention please, but I'm also saying that like, please, if I don't have attention, I will end my life, and this podcast will be over, and they'll replace me with fucking Carson probably. No, please don't.
I mean, yeah, like that's the thing that always annoys me too with filmmakers. If they say like, "Oh, I don't make films for other people. I make them for me." It's like, no,
Hmm.
no, you make them to capture an audience. You make them because you want other people to see them. If you didn't, you would just be imagining it in your bedroom.
Yeah.
But I also don't like that's definitely not a bad thing. Like you should definitely want to share what you have with other people, and to that extent, you have to make concessions for the sake of viewability or for the sake of viewer interest and retention, which is kind of also something I learned with this film because, like I said, I was the probably main editor for it, and I cut down a lot. Like previously mentioned, 18 minutes to 14. Most of that was out of the final confrontation scene. And I think that if you look at the pre-cut version and then the cut that actually made it published, if you look at like what was said back and forth, there is like you do it, like the context in the conversation does change a little bit, and like the the subtext of the conversation is slightly different, which is like fine. Like that's totally not a big deal at all. Like when the role of a movie editor isn't to actually like just cut angles and make it to where it makes the most sense. Like you do actually have a pretty good amount of control over how the audience actually perceives the story. So I think just keep that in mind and utilize that when you are editing.
Yeah, and also editing is sort of is pretty dishonest. And I definitely noticed that a lot with this movie. Just because like what you were saying, we the context of what the confrontation scene is now is a lot different. And there's a lot of like Zach's reactions and a lot of Angelina's reactions are from different parts of that scene, but we put them in the parts that we think would be more beneficial. And I think like that's a thing that is good to remember, like that you don't have to actually like edit in real time for every single character. Just do what is like best. Like I'm pretty sure when she's like I'll expose your little perversion, and Zach kind of goes like this, but I think that's how like when she initially says like I study you for a living or something like that. Like it's something where it's somewhere like earlier, maybe not that much earlier, but it is earlier in the story. And like I feel like I need to also like embrace that as well. I feel like for Big Slick I'm trying to be a little bit too honest, and there's some parts where I'm like, you know what, this reaction's like this is a good react, like this the actor did a good job, but they have scenes or clips from different parts of that aren't shown because it's like cutting to other people's coverage, which is another benefit of getting more coverage, is that now you have more reactions from actors who aren't shown because you're showing more different clips and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some stuff there I want to start embracing a little bit more.
Yeah, and like also like the job as the editor isn't to edit with service to the filmmakers, it's with editing with service to the film. So like I
Mhm.
kind of said, whatever makes the most sense for the story, it doesn't matter where you pull it from, it doesn't matter where it originally was, if it makes sense on the final. And that's also like kind of a thing too that I'm a little bit like conscious of on the back end, kind of knowing how the sausage is made, where if there's I'm having a hard time thinking of specific examples right now, but it's like if there's a shot that looks a different way than how we shot it. Like we haven't done this, but I know specifically a good example is miniatures. So if you shoot a miniature and then you portray it as like what it normally is, like what size you want the audience to perceive it, you look at it and you're like, what the fuck, this isn't actually what I shot, this isn't actually how it was a little 1 inch high piece of clay on a whatever. But
Right.
the audience doesn't know that. So
Yeah.
I feel like for too long I've been editing in service of what I know as reality as opposed to what I want the audience to perceive as reality.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that can be a hard thing to break free of, just because it feels kind of fake to you, and then because you see like all the quote unquote dishonesty that you're portraying, it's like, oh my god, like people are going to notice, but no one's going to notice. And every film you've ever seen, every show you've ever watched has done that like hundreds of times, if not thousands. Like there's so many times they do that. Um and yeah, I feel like that's something I definitely want to. It's also like the best. I also, I don't think I did this a lot for I study people. I don't know how often we did this in general beforehand. But I'm pretty sure if, let's say, there's an angle of the main character, Preston, who's played by Zach Dart, when he's talking, let's say it's like it's like an angle like this, like it's a straight on angle, and he's talking past the camera or something. If it's like a 1 minute monologue, I think that we would pretty much just use that clip like the whole time. Like, oh, it was the last take, it was the best take. We'll use that entire thing. But just because the best take is the best take doesn't mean that there's parts that from other takes that are actually better than that part. And that's something I also want to remember. There's some parts in Big Slick, for example, where like, oh, maybe a microphone dipped into frame, and so after like a minute of rolling, when we're supposed to go for like 2 minutes, we had to cut because of the camera mistake or the microphone or whatever mistake happened. But it doesn't mean that like in that minute before that happened that there's some like gold line in there, that like this like little nugget that I can just like throw into the actual film, because no one's gonna know that that was like a failed take because of like a thing at the end. Um, so I do want to go through, and we'll go through in a few days. Probably me, you, and Carson, and just I don't know, sometime beginning of next month, and just kind of go through some of those parts. And I have some changes that I think I want to go over with you guys as well. But yeah, I'm excited to like actually go through and really, because again, it's like we spent all this time and brought all these people over. I want to give them the best possible film that I could possibly give them, because I'm sure honestly I Study People would have benefited a little bit more if we had kind of experimented using the other takes that we kind of didn't care to use, because we were like, oh, it was a mistake or whatever. By how much would it have benefited? I don't know, but there's probably some level of, it probably would have been somewhat better,
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. Like I don't really have anything else to add on that point. I think for my last lesson, it's that film festival projectors fucking suck.
Oh yeah,
because that's like specifically in regard to Modest, because I graded this film and I thought it looks good on, also just like calibrating monitors is hard and stuff. Where we went to like a local little film festival, and when I Study People popped up, I thought it was like way too over contrasty, way too like saturated, and I was like cringing the whole time, because I'd never really cringed when I watched it like on a computer monitor, but on this festival projector, it just like looked horrendous. And I was like talking with people afterwards, and I was like, yeah, I think the projectors sucked, and they're like, oh no, it's fine, it looked great. I'm like, okay, you're either just kind of glazing me here, or you actually think it looked fine, because like I knew, once again, the kind of like breaking reality thing, I knew what it looked like on the far superior computer monitor, as opposed to just this shitty little projector. But to them, they might, like, without seeing a before and after, you might not actually notice a difference.
Yeah, and there's also like, yeah, I mean, we'll see how we're having one more run of I Study People on December 6th, 7th. God, yeah, on December 7th. They chose that date.
That one wasn't even forced. That was natural.
It's true. It is. I think it's on the first day for Butte Film Festival is the 6th, and the second and last.
Go to Butte Festival on the 6th and the 7th to find out.
Butte Film Fest. Yeah, buttefilmfest.com if you want to get tickets if you're in the area.
It's not buff. Whatever. We'll link in the description. I Study People for Living is playing on December 7th, 2025 at the historic Oroville Theater in Chico, California with Butte Film Festival.
It's actually not at that theater.
I lied.
They changed the venue from last year, because I think they said that this venue is going to be smaller than the one last year. So, and we'll see. And
use code Parker Viale at checkout, all caps and no spaces, if you want free tickets. You're gonna have to bleep that, but that's funny.
Yes. Put code Ryan Fino.
Code Ryan Fino. Yes. Do you have any other things you learned from I Study People?
Just it's time to make a feature. That's it.
You think that this more or less adequately prepared you, or not even necessarily that, but more or less showed you that it's more achievable than you previously thought?
Yeah, I don't know if it like prepared me for a feature, but it's definitely making me delusional about being prepared for a feature. So, I'm sure we'll be like, yes, let's do it. And then we'll fucking day one, we'll be like, oh my God, what did we get ourselves into? But yeah, no, I think that this definitely helped it helped me see just how, it's not as difficult. Well, it is difficult, but it's not as, I shouldn't be as scared or terrified of it. Because if we never, everyone's first feature is a huge risk. It's always going to be a risk, even if we have every single detail planned out. So I get that. So I think I'm ready to accept and embrace the risks that are going to come.
Yeah, and we'll do a lot of preparing for it between pre-production and just bringing people who have done these indie features onto the show and kind of talk with them, get some of their lessons. So like always, stay tuned for those future episodes for some awesome guests that we have not reached out to or locked in or even thought of. Anyway, subscribe. Yes. But without further make a cut. It's too fucking early. But anyways, that about wraps up this episode of Indie Film Insider on lessons that we learned from our latest 14-minute short film, or whatever Jake decides to title this. If you enjoy, be sure to do all the YouTube bullshit, like, comment, subscribe. I am owencar.dp on Instagram. Link will be down below. Jake, where are you?
I am at Jake Ross Bell on Instagram.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for watching. The previous episode with tremendous and gorgeous actor Roz Fitz has been on the screen for the past 10 seconds or so. That was a great episode. We talk all about living in LA, talk about acting with Stephen Ogg, acting under Luca Pizzoleo. So be sure to check that out. And thank you so much for watching. I hope and what?
And acting under Jake Ross Bell, most importantly.
Oh, of course. The most vital one.
Yes.
Click that, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.